Hello, everyone. A very good evening. Welcome to ULTV Study Abroad 101. I'm Shefali Shrivastava, Marketing and Communication Manager at University. Hope you have been following us and have already seen our previous videos around which country to go, which course to take. And today we have an interesting session for you, and we're going to share insights why to study in Australia. To make this discussion really interesting, we have Gavin with us. Hi, Gavin. Gavin is an alumni from Monash University. So guys, whatever he's going to say, it's directly from the horse mouth. So he's going to share the course secrets. You will get to know actually how a student lives over there in Australia. We'll talk about the course which he has taken. We'll talk about how the lifestyle over there and the cost of living. So Gavin, you have studied Bachelor of International Business at Monash University, right?
Yep, that's right. So I just finished my degree, Bachelor of International Business at Monash University. And I'm currently working on my two jobs. One actually at Monash University, so as a admin assistant at the Monash University Chancellery under the Chief Operating Office. So you get to do a lot of different stuff, ranging from pretty much the university housing, the university major events, pretty much anything you can imagine. It is a very diverse portfolio. And I'm also working at a student accommodation in Australia, in Melbourne. So yeah, it's very exciting sort of having this different combination. One is more customer facing. You get to interact with the students. And the other one is more sort of internal facing. You get to interact with the chancellors, the vice president, the chief operating officer at Monash University, and learn how the brand of such a huge university works. So yeah.
That's really interesting. And two jobs at a time, it must be tiring.
Nah, I feel like working for me, especially for me now, because I'm sort of during my gap year, waiting for my master's to start in September. So I having this free time that I can explore and sort of just try to apply the knowledge that I already learned from my degree to a sort of in a practical sense, in a real business world. And yeah, it is a sort of exciting journey. Every day is different. Yeah.
So Gavin, I come back to the first question around which the actual topic is. Why you chose Australia? Why not some other country?
Okay, I think that is a very good question. A lot of students have been asking themselves before they choose to study abroad, because you know, a country can play a really big factor when you think about study abroad. For example, the major sort of English-speaking countries are the UK, the US, Australia, Canada, and every country has different sort of culture and different offerings. And the reason why I choose Australia out of all these countries is because, first of all, Australia, it is quite close to China. And the time difference is quite sort of minor. It's about 2 hours in the summer and 3 hours in the winter or something. So you can sort of maintain the communication with your families back in China or in Asia, and still having this sort of same kind of connection with your family. So that is pretty good. Especially for bachelor students, it's the first time you travel abroad. So it is very natural to feel nervous and feel homesick. So this is when it's quite handy when you can just give a phone call or give a video call to your family. And so that is sort of the personal side of thing. But also Australia, it is has a very good education system, as you can see from all the university ranking, the QS ranking, Times, the US News ranking, the Australia group of 8 universities that they are consistently ranked at very top on the ranking list. So it is quite easy for you, especially when you have this group of 8 system. It is quite easy for you to choose from rather than to individually investigate which one is better than which one. Pretty much all the group of 8 are quite sort of similar in the quality. They all have this consistent and pretty high quality. So that is very nice that you have this offerings. And also because for me, I just feel like Australia, it is a very chill country compared to maybe China, where I coming from, because Australia, it is in a different hemisphere, and it is a sort of a quite interesting culture that they have. It is pretty chill, and they having this I can just no worries and don't need to worry about anything sort of attitude. And it is quite interesting to sort of having a different clash of culture here in Australia. So yeah.
Right. Experience matters a lot, whether you are anywhere, and when you travel abroad, you get to meet a lot of people, new people. And as you mentioned that at Monash University, we are also doing a work, you meet a lot of people, interact with a lot of people. So I am sure that you are having a lot of fun while doing all these activities. I see that you're really active on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I wanted to understand, and I'm sure our students want to understand, what is this? How was your experience at Monash University? How did you got in? What was the selection criteria? Right now, also working over there, what is the selection criteria for a student? What a student can do to make their application stand out? And as I mentioned earlier in our conversation, do share some hacks that you are using, because you got a lot of application done and you got letters from a lot of universities. So share some hacks with the students.
Yeah. So I think my experience with Monash is quite unique. So I am sort of sit on both sides of the table. So I was a student at the university, but also a current staff at the university. So you get to see both sides of the things, and sort of having this comprehensive understanding of how does the system work. So from the student side of things, I chose Bachelor of International Business because it is a very sort of unique structure. It is using the only sort of degree in Monash University that's using trimester system. So you can finish a 3-year degree in just 2 years. So that saves a lot of time. And it is a quite different from the traditional sort of teaching style. So you got a small enclosed interactive class rather than just lectures and tutorials. You get to interact with the lecturer. You get to build a relationship with the lecturers, which comes in very handy when I apply into my master. So when I get the referral from a lecturer, they were very happy to do that. And you also get to build a relationship with your classmates. So that builds your network here locally. And that is quite important for me because I want to learn the culture, not just from paper, but actually from the daily life and the interaction with my peers. So that's quite important for me. And also, I feel like Monash is a very, well, it is still a very young university. We are celebrating our 60 years of the establishment, and it is still quite young, but we're not sort of hiding, sort of not afraid of, being young. We are very practical, and all the course offering, if you check our website, it is super practical. It's based on what you're really gonna use in the real world rather than just on paper, rather than just on the academic side. So yeah, that is something that I'm quite sort of interested in. And also Monash, it is actually the largest university in Australia. So you get to have the network, such a huge network throughout, whether it's Australia or throughout the world. And that is gives you confidence wherever you go. You always have Monash alumni with you.
Right, right. And we are actually on sync. Even university living turned 6 this 10th itself. So we are of same age, Monash and university living, I'll say. Okay, you mentioned a very interesting point that Monash University has a very practical approach towards the courses that you guys are offering. And even when you were a student. So what kind of courses are popular at the university? And of course, every country has a kind of speciality as well. So if what should be my area of interest if I want to study in Australia? Like, which are the best courses to study over there?
Well, I mean, overall, Australia again has really good sort of education quality. So you can feel free to go with whatever course you want, and you can receive a satisfying result. So that is out of the question. But I think it is quite important that you go with something that you actually love and that you actually interested. For example, I can talk a talk about what are the popular courses in Australia, maybe IT, a lot of business as well. And for Monash, we're also very strong in pharmacy and education. But yeah, I think it's quite important that you found your interest, that you found something you're good at, and not just follow what's popular in currently, because first, what's currently popular can be sort of oversupplied in just a second. And when you think of like all the in-demand jobs or the in-demand degree that you can study, it is quite interesting that if you are not really into that subject, if you're not really good at that subject, if you don't have the motivation to study that subject, how do you compete with so many people? Because this is such a popular course, how do you compete with so many people that are actually interested in that subject? And can you actually make sure you can stand out from the crowd? I don't think so. So it is very important that you choose the subject you like, and you do your research before you actually choose a subject, rather than just follow what's popular in the university or in the current world right now. So yeah.
I think very well said. Trends get old very quickly. As soon as they come into the market, as that quickly they go back. So don't go around the trend. Of course, the course which you want to go, that should be of your area of interest. And as you mentioned, that IT and of course business is something which is very great at Monash, and pharmaceuticals as well, right? So okay, and you're already working at Monash, and I believe you have been very active as a student when you started the university. What kind of activities are placed at the university to make the students more employable? In fact, during this COVID times, how did you guys manage, or how were these activities continued? Because mostly these activities are physical events, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So I think Monash is all about practical sort of skills, and we're trying to offer students as much as sort of the practical modules as possible. For example, me as a student, I get to have the chance to sort of having a we call the integrated work and study sort of module, where you can actually do an internship with a domestic or international company of your choice. And it is quite interesting that it is part of the course, so you can have under the university umbrella and under your degrees sort of process, but still get to have a bit of taste of what's gonna be like working in an office or working with the people that when you graduate you're gonna work with. So I was lucky enough to actually matched with Monash Business School when I was applying for my internship. So yeah, it is, and it was for the marketing sort of part of the role. So it's on the student recruitment for marketing. And I'm always very interested in marketing. I feel like Monash is such a global brand and is such sort of large organizations that we often think of university as an institution, but when you look at Monash, it is more than just an education institution. It is also a sort of a very sophisticated mechanism of sophisticated business company that can build such a huge brand under in just 60 years, and it sits at the top, one of the top university in Australia and in the world. So when you have this chance to actually sit on both sides of the table, as a customer and as a developer, as a staff in the university. You get to sort of understand a lot of things, and you get to also practice your skills as well. So I think that sort of internship offering built into the degree, and study abroad opportunities, and the career networking events. And recently, I think we have a very practical new seminar as well. So that is helping students, especially the last year students, to sort of having a immersive experience to go through the graduate program application process. So from how to apply for the application jobs, apply for the graduate jobs, to how to do the interview, and how to sort of utilize the graduate programs, and to get to the companies and get to the position that you desire. So that is very practical, and then that is actually a lot of students are sort of seeking for this kind of support at the university.
Great. So they start with the initial stage itself. That's what, like with the basic only they start, and then slowly and gradually they keep on training and disseminating more content in the reliable news over there. Correct. So
Yeah.
Gavin, you shared that you're working 2 jobs at a time right now.
Yeah.
How were you managing, and what kind of part-time jobs you were doing when you were a student, when you were on the other side of the table?
So for me, I think working, it is integrated in my life, because I only do works that I enjoy to do. I don't do work because I need to pay my rent or because I need to support myself. No, my family actually can support me completely, but I do work because I enjoy to do it. So when I was studying, I actually sort of out of nowhere, I got a job at the student accommodation company that I living in, the student accommodation that I'm living in, as a content creator. And how did I get that job? So because I was very active in the student accommodation community, and they were sort of noticing me, and they were like, "Oh, Gavin, we like you, and we want you to, would you like to work with us?" And so there's no interview, or there's no sort of formal talk, a discussion, but yeah, they just offer me a job as a content creator, because they think I have the energy, the skill as well, that showing from all the events, by helping out, voluntarily helping out with the events, and sort of engage in the community. They can see my potential, so that's why they offer me a job, which is quite sort of fit in my schedule, because I need to take classes, I need to go to school, but I can also do the content producing in my own time. And then also I can just when I go to the park or anything, I can just like take out my phone and shoot a video, and then when I go back home, I edit it and post it on their social media account. So it is quite convenient, quite handy, and it's also fits in my schedule as well. It is in my skill set as well. So that was a very lucky sort of.
Yeah, I'll definitely say lucky, and your work got recognized.
Yeah.
Because you were working towards that direction, it got recognized. But
yeah.
For other people who are traveling to Australia, what kind of part-time jobs are available?
So a lot of students, there are a lot of jobs. So for example, hospitality, that is quite entry level. So for students, I think it is very common to have a entry level jobs, because the skill, considering the skills that you have, and considering the time that you have. So in Australia, you can work up to, I think it is 20 hours fortnightly for a student that is on sort of in semester. But during holiday, I don't think there's any limits at the moment. But yeah, so for example, working in hospitality, working in cafe. Cafe is a very coffee culture is very popular in Australia, especially in Melbourne. You got lots of good cafes, brunch places that you can work in, so you can learn the food culture and you can interact with different kinds of customers, and you get to sort of adapt to a fast-paced sort of work environment. There are also different things. For example, the student accommodation, they need someone to help with the events, they need someone to help with the content. So there are a lot of hidden job market as well. And there are also a lot of university jobs. Inside the university, there are huge demand for example, at Monash, we have a student center. It's called Monash Connect. So that is a sort of a go-to place when you have any question to ask, when you lost your student car or anything. You go there, and they really need someone to help with the students. So they can train you, they can sort of build up your skills. But what they are looking for, it is your energy, it is your sort of your mindset, that your can-do attitude, that you can contribute to the job, and then you can quickly learn new things. That is what the employers are looking for when it comes to hiring students. So not just because you have a degree, or not just because you study in what kind of university. No, it is because they hire you, it is because of you, not because of the degree.
Right. So whatever it's done, it's actually you who's working. And regarding the part-time hours, it's for now with the new regulations, 40 hours every 2 weeks actually outside the
40
holiday.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see that you were at the negative side of it. With the new rules coming, students who might be going, they can work a little more. But of course, you should not deviate from the goal of going over there, studying and all that. Part-time is something which you can do if you want to do, but that should not be the sole purpose. Correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Gavin, you went to Monash and you came from China. How was your experience? Like, you already mentioned that you didn't experience a lot of things changing, but yeah, share an interesting story about the life at Melbourne, how the adjusting period went on, and all that.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. Coming from China, especially coming from Guangzhou, China, a first tier city, a major city from China, to Melbourne, which is also a major city in Australia. It's surprise or not, it is a downgrade for me at the beginning. So when I left the country, I was leaving with my family. We were leaving, departing from a gigantic brand new airport where you got hundreds of planes, flights taking off at the same time. But when I landed to Melbourne, it is such small, compact airport with quite sort of, old facilities. So that was a bit of a shock, because when you think of developed country, you think of, they are living a better life, but sometimes that might not be the truth in terms of airport, of course. And when I came to the city, compared to my home city, it is not many skyscrapers, and everything just looks very ancient. You can see a lot of old houses from hundreds of years ago, and you can see the streets are quite narrow compared to my home country, where like everything's brand new and everything is sort of booming. But yeah, once you live here for a while, it is a completely different experience. So after about 1 year that I live in Melbourne, I sort of get why Melbourne, it is supposed to be the most livable city in the world. And it is, I think it's for 7 years in a row. I sort of get it why it is, because that the streets are just designed in a human scale. Once you get used to this sort of walkable cities, you feel really comfortable to walk around and to explore different cafes in around the corner, and there's different shops around the corners. You get to experience different things, and there's also street performance on the streets. There's just different surprises when you walk on the street, and there's a park around the corner, and the beach is walking distance, and you can just hop on the train to the beach. You can spend take your classes in the morning, and then hang out with friends at the beach in the afternoon. So it is a very unique experience when it comes to living in this city, and now I just loving it.
So now I get it why you said that Melbourne is really chill. So it is in good manner. Initially, of course, when you came from your home country, of course, you definitely miss home and the vibes over there are completely different. But you went Australia for a new experience, and I'm sure that Melbourne gave you that.
Yeah, exactly. It is a brand new experience for me. And then you
Right.
get to learn the culture, you get to meet new people, and you get to understand a different mindset when it comes to the city design, when it comes to sort of different attitude towards work-life balance. Yeah, at Melbourne, you can see a lot of people drinking coffee in the morning and just chill at the park. They walk around in the city, they lie on the ground, they walk around without shoes. You can see different kinds of people. And at the beginning, I was shocked. And why I was like, why does he or she do that? Does she or he feels like being judged or something? But once you live here for a while, you feel like, oh, it is quite normal. People can do whatever they want as long as you don't hurt anyone. So it is a very sort of a chill city where you can just enjoy being yourself.
Right. It's great, great. So of course, I have heard great things about coffee from Australia. So yeah. So
Yeah.
I also want to understand. Now you mentioned there are a lot of cafes, parks, and of course it's children. So what is the basic cost or an average cost of living for a student who's living at Melbourne and studying at Melbourne?
Okay, I think the living cost in Australia, it is um, for international students. When I first came to Australia, I feel like it is quite high for me because coming from China and the currency, the yuan to Australian dollars, it is sort of 4.5 to 5. Let's say 5 yuan to 1 Australian dollar. So everything you buy here, if it is $1, you need to times 5. That equals to my currency that I was using. And it wasn't cheap for me because for my family, they need to support me and I don't have any income at the beginning. So I have to sort of limit my budget and try not to spend crazy. But once you sort of work here, your world just changed. So because once you work here, the minimum salary it is $19 per hour, and if you trying to buy a meal for a quick meal for lunch, it is around $8 something. A nicer one, a decent meal, probably $14, $15. And if you want to go crazy, go to a restaurant and sit down and have a nice sort of a big meal, $25 top. Yeah, I would say so. So all you need to do is just work 1 hour and then you get a free meal. So I would say the living cost is not that crazy. And coming from China, where everything sort of the number of the price, usually it is 40 something, 100 something, that is quite normal. But in Australia, everything is like $1 or $2, $4, $8, $12 max, something like that. So when you work here, you're earning about $19 an hour, and everything costs you about $8, $20. So yeah,
Max $25 if you're going for a full like dinner kind of thing and a lunch kind of thing, right?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it is not that difficult. But I would say the rent, it is a little bit expensive compared to the living costs. But still, compared to other major city, when you think about, I don't know, US, New York, or London, even compared to Sydney, Melbourne is very cheap, but you're still having the same living standard than anywhere else in the city. So yeah.
Right, right. Great. Okay, so you share your experience, how you have, settled down over there. And when you were coming from China, how did you figure out the accommodation part? Of course, you did share that you looked for other parts, but you did your due diligence as well. So
Yeah.
share your story.
Yeah, so coming from China, it was before COVID-19 pandemic. It was 2019, and there was not really that many sort of online resources available. People didn't get used to hosting an online events and online Zoom meetings to introduce you to all the facility they have, or this kind of resources that's available online. So you have to do your own research, and you have to go through different kinds of websites, and you have to search. And especially in China, we don't use Google, so the information kind of not completely overflow between different sort of websites. So that adds even more trouble. And what I did is that I use services like University of Living. I used their websites, and I had a look at what are the offer that's available. And I think that is quite helpful in terms of using the expertise of the agents or the websites like University of Living to help you sort of quickly navigate whether it's the prices or whether it's the location, and help you give you an understanding of what's going on with the accommodation in the area that you were looking for.
Right, right. Okay, so now you have already lived in Australia, in Melbourne, and now you're going to London. You're going to UK for your, extra next study program. So, if I would like to ask you, what are the pros and cons at studying in Australia? And of course, I will definitely need a con. So, do share your insight on that.
Yeah, so it is quite interesting because for my bachelor's, I chose Australia over the other countries because I just feel like UK, it is quite safe, and it is quite sort of developed. It's very busy, and it got long history, but it is just not as, the weather is just not as nice as Australia, to be honest. And US, well, the gun is still a concern for me. So yeah, it doesn't feel that safe for me as a 18 years old boy at that time. So yeah, but now I feel like after I live here in Australia, I feel like it is a sort of a sweet spot of everything. You got the sort of the world class living style, living quality, but at a reasonable cost. And you get to do the job that you want. You get to study, you get to chill, hang out with your friends at a reasonable cost. And you get to have an income when you feel like you want to work. But even if you don't have income here locally, you can still support yourself by your families. So it is a very sort of chill country, and the culture is quite diverse. So you walking on the street, you don't feel like you are sort of different. You can see different colors, different size of people, and they speak different languages as well. So you don't feel like, you are different or you don't belong here. Everyone comes to Australia and everyone feels belonged. So yeah, it is a very diverse country. So you don't feel like, you are in a foreign country and everyone's so not friendly. Australian people are very friendly in general. So yeah, I feel like I love the experience studying here and working here. And yeah, despite I'm going to UK, I will miss here.
Definitely, I'll see it's your second home right now, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you're already working at a student accommodation provider company, and you yourself have been a student. What kind of parameters a student should look when they're booking an accommodation overseas, especially in Australia?
Yeah. So in terms of looking for student accommodations, there are pretty much two kinds of options. Well, either you're looking for private rental, or you're looking for the sort of a commercial student accommodation, student apartments. And I think there are pros and cons for both sort of options. For example, private rental, usually it will be slightly expensive than the student accommodation, but you do got much larger size in terms of the room. For example, for student accommodation, a studio probably costs you around, say, $400 or $500. And for private rental, a 1-bedroom apartment maybe costs you around $600 or $700 per week. So it's slightly more, sort of $100 price difference, but you got a much larger room. You got a living room and you got a bedroom. But usually the private rental, it is quite troublesome. For example, it usually comes with a blank room, an empty room. So there's no furnished, it's unfurnished. And you need to sort out your utility bills, your internet, your water, your electricity, everything. And you need to pay your rent, pay your utility bills on time. And you need to sign the contract with agents. You need to go through everything. And once something's damaged, something needs to be fixed, you need to contact the agent, and the agent need to contact the maintenance, and usually take days. And there's just a lot of restrictions. But yeah, you do get a larger size of room in general. But for student accommodation, it is a different options. Usually it is slightly cheaper than sort of a same class room that you can get from private rental. But you do get a more compact or smaller room space. For example, a studio, it is quite popular for international students, especially during this COVID pandemic period. You get to have your kitchen, your bathroom, and your bedroom, and your sort of living room and study zone in one room. It's like a hotel room with a kitchen. So yeah, everything can sort it out in your own room. You don't have to share anything with anyone else. So that helps with stopping the spread of COVID as well. So yeah, but you do get a smaller size room. And but on the other side, you don't have to think about your utility bills. You don't have to, especially for international student speaking in different languages, you want to sort it out what kind of utilities that is best available, what kind of internet is the fastest and is the cheapest. You don't have time for that. So yeah, when you pay for your rent, you pay for everything. Everything's inclusive. You don't have to worry about the bills and everything. And the maintenance is super easy. When something's break, you just call the reception or lodge a maintenance request, and then everything will be sorted out in a day or two. So yeah, it's quite convenient. And student accommodation, it is designed for students, and it is only for students. So there's no other people, non-students in the building. It's very safe. It is usually 24 hours concierge with the receptions. So yeah, it is very safe. And also because the whole building is built for students, so usually comes with study rooms, usually comes with gym, sometimes cinemas, and a shared kitchen where you can host events and dinner party with your friends. It just comes with different things. And especially the whole building are students. So sometimes you can meet lots of friends, and sometimes the student accommodation comes with events. So they organize events for all the residents living here. And you can meet a lot of students from different universities. So not just within your university, but also all the university in the proximity. So yeah, that sort of broaden your experience as well. So yeah.
Right. Exactly. In fact, it's a very valid point. So when you study, you only want to study. You don't want to be worried about that this bill has to be paid, this is to be done, this maintenance is to be done. And it's a lot of load is taken off from your shoulder if you don't have to worry about these things. And of course, exposure and meeting new friends. You get to meet a lot of people when you're living with them, because I believe you spend around like 80% of your time in the accommodation itself. So yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, thank you so much, Gavin. I believe the students who are watching this have been, getting more insights from you, and we'll circle back to you again when you're settled down in London, so that we can get an insight that which country is better, UK or Australia. So be ready for that question, I'll say.
Yep, definitely gonna do that.
Thank you so much. And if there's any final word of wisdom that you want to share with our viewers, then please to share that.
Yeah, I think study abroad, it is a experience that you need to be proactive. You don't. I think a lot of people think of studying in a foreign country or studying in a different sort of culture. They want to. They think something that, like, for example, I want this degree to give me a lot of things. I want this degree gives me good jobs. I want this degree to help me stand out from my peers. It doesn't work that way. You need to invest in your degree, and you need to invest in your experience. You need to be proactive to maximize the quality or the benefit comes with it. So it is not just I sit there, I get in through the classes, I get in through the exams, and then I will get a good job. No, you have to be proactive. You have to network with your friends. You have to network with your peers. You have to attend events. You have to figure out what kind of services that in the university you can use, and what kind of services that you can use to help you build up your career profile, to help you excel at your study. And then you have to pay attention to all the opportunities, all the hidden job markets that's available around you, because you never know. Sometimes when you talk to someone and you guys know each other, and he will introduce you to another person, and whom just might be having a job opening at the moment, and he will just give it to you because he knows you better than just a random person who gives a resume to him. So everything is unpredictable, and that is the fun of it, because you can't sort of predict or plan out everything, but just do your best for every day, because every day is different, and you need to be proactive to maximize your day.
Right. Thank you, Gavin. So the mantra of the whole conversation is that you need to be proactive, you need to invest in yourself. And that's actually for every person in every different walk of life. Invest in yourself and you'll find the result, you'll get the results. Thank you so much, Gavin, again. And on this note, we'll close the session. Viewers, you can come back to our channel on next Friday to watch more, and you can check out the links of our older series below. Thank you.
Bye.